So I've done the work over the last 4 years that it took to get here today for you. For you, the victim. For you, the energy worker. For you, the ratepayer. For you, the trauma survivor. I am here for you. So here we go. If you didn't already know, the CPUC performed a PG&E safety culture investigation somewhere thereabouts around 2018. Right around the same time I was being harassed and stalked by the upgrade supervisor in Santa Rosa. So I wanted to put this as the first document we go over, as it really is one of the most important. As it proves that this isn't just the rantings of a middle-aged woman, but in fact the perspective of a subject matter expert of 20 years in the field. And that when God decides to do a thing, He just does it. In this investigation, the California Public Utilities Commission is examining whether Pacific Gas and Electric Company has corporate governance clearly documented organizational goals and objectives and work procedures that prioritize and improve safety. I can tell you that as a natural gas first responder, gas service representative, my procedures are not something that I can ignore, because not only do my procedures make sure that I get home safe to my family, but they also ensure that you stay safe as you utilize the energy that I have delivered to your door. And in that regard, as we examine these documents, which we will do as they're relevant, starting with this one, we will be telling the story through the documents here on Keeper of the Flame. This is the industry story. This is the why it matters. This is the what needs to be done about it. And this is how Power Girl influences the industry that tried to destroy her with grace, intelligence, and expertise. So on November 29th, 2018, the very same November that my harassment began, the California Public Utilities Commission ordered Pacific Gas and Electric Company to implement the safety recommendations of the CPUC staff as outlined in a report by an independent third party. Today's decision comes in the CPUC's investigation to determine whether PG&E's and PG&E Corporation's organizational culture and governance prioritize safety and adequately direct resources to promote accountability and achieve safety goals and standards. The CPUC's Safety and Enforcement Division evaluated PG&E's and PG&E Corp's organizational culture, governance, policies, practices, and accountability metrics in relation to PG&E's record of operations, including its record of safety incidents. The Safety and Enforcement Division produced a report on the issues with the assistance of an independent consultant, North Star Consulting Group. The recommendations that PG&E is ordered to implement include development of a comprehensive safety strategy with associated timelines, deliverables, resource requirements, and budgets, personnel qualifications, clear delineations of roles and responsibility, action plans, assignment of responsibility for initiatives, and associated metrics to assess effectiveness. The CPUC initiated this proceeding after the pipeline explosion in San Bruno occurred to determine whether PG&E has an adequate safety culture. Sadly, the events of September 9, 2010 continue to echo today. Evidence shows that although there are a few bright spots, PG&E appears not to have had a clear vision for safety programs and instead pursues many programs without thought to how they fit together. Despite 8 years passing since the explosion in San Bruno, said the CPUC president. I plan to open a new phase in this proceeding to examine the corporate governance, structure, and operation of PG&E to determine the best path forward for Northern California to receive safe electrical and natural gas service. As I reviewed the North Star report, I found myself asking how Northern California can be served better and whether there is a different model to ensure safe and reliable electric and natural gas service. One of the challenges of changing an institution such as PG&E is that the utility must continue to operate every day. To operate the grid in a safe manner, PG&E must be able to sign contracts and raise capital. This is a bit like remodeling an airplane in mid-flight. We don't want to crash the plane while we're trying to make it faster. That's bad for the passengers. I am committed to continue looking seriously at structural issues at PG&E and our regulation of the company. Achieving a genuine safety culture at the utility is paramount, said the commissioner. This assessment, the first of its kind at the CPUC, produced a multitude of improvements for PG&E to act on and should be just one step in an ongoing process of improvement for PG&E. I hope this process can produce similar results for other utilities as well, said the commissioner. So there it is. This is the beginning of our journey. You can see here that on November 29th, 2018, the very same month that the hammer was being dropped on Power Girl behind the Redwood Curtain in Northern California, CPUC was implementing recommendations to improve PG&E's safety culture. Not only did I happen to be a 20-year veteran of their safety program, but I also happened to be their first female technical instructor in the history of the company. So when I came up to Humboldt County, not only did they know who I was, but they didn't like it at all. They didn't like that I decided to go back to the tools and the truck and the dirt. They didn't like it that they had tried for 4 years to make me or break me, and they were unable to do either. They didn't like it that I turned around and left the academy, that I went back into service, back into the homes of the customers, that I took all of my knowledge and experience and expertise and education to a very remote rural area that desperately needed me. They also didn't like that I was very vocal and now very knowledgeable regarding their safety practices on a normal operating level. They were hearing from me far too many times and hearing about me. So when they filed bankruptcy in January of 2019, I wouldn't be surprised at all if my name climbed to the top of a very short list of people that needed to be silenced no matter what. So when the gentleman from Santa Rosa, who was on a yellow card, upgrade, just another gas service rep, came up and put his boot on my neck for 4 months for no reason, ignored my requests for reasonable accommodation, ignored my cries for help from PTSD inflammation, it set events in motion that very quickly spiraled out of control for this power girl. Not only was I not receiving the care that I had been looking for 2 years, but I was under constant attack. For 4 months. And that was after I started to ask for help from complex PTSD. That's not including the 47 years of trauma that I had lived before that. We'll be talking about those things on My California Story, because not only am I trying to influence my industry, but I am even more desperately trying to influence the way people treat those of us who have been severely traumatized. Because I have found that the cure is so much worse than the cause. We'll talk about that there. But here, on Keeper of the Flame, we're going to go over the documents and we're going to show the receipts. I'm going to do it as I can, as quickly as I can. But I have to consider where my body is at any given moment. Because not only have I had to endure utter hell for multiple decades, but now I'm under attack from inside. So I will do the best I can to tell my story and to service my country, my state, my industry, my fellow co-workers, but more importantly, to service the victims whose lives will never be the same again, whose loved ones will never, ever come home again. For me to keep what I know to myself, for me to tamper down my talent, my DNA, my training, my experience, and all the incredibly hard work that nobody ever saw would be a sin. Because God has tasked me. This is my assignment. It has been my mantle since before I was born. And if you don't believe me, you're welcome to stick around and just watch. Be blessed.
So cancel culture is a dress rehearsal for mass murder. Now be very clear. Cancel culture is a dress rehearsal for mass murder. They're seeing if people can be disappeared from social media, and if people accept people being disappeared from social media, then they will accept people being disappeared from the world. When communists get into power, when socialists get into power, they kill us. No kidding, no fooling, and our families are lucky to get away. Yeah, it's a great leap forward off a cliff. Cancel culture is a dress rehearsal for extermination. Yeah, listen, they call it character assassination because it's a rehearsal, right? It's a rehearsal. And the kind of lies that are told about me in the mainstream media, in Wikipedia and other places, are very specifically designed to get crazy people to target me in a violent manner. It's an incitement to violence, right? Because they portray me as such an evil person that's the old, would you shoot Hitler if you, as a baby, or whatever it is, right? So, yes, it is a sociopathic dress rehearsal for extermination. And it's very, very serious stuff because we want to push back while it's still in the form of language rather than wait until it's guys kicking in your door at 3 o'clock in the morning and everybody vanishing. So, yeah, cancel culture is, well, first of all, it's the opposite of culture. See, culture is when you disagree. Otherwise, it's a cult. It's just the first syllable, cult, not culture, right? So culture is when we disagree. And we're allowed to disagree because that's what culture is. It's just conformity. Otherwise, it's just like ants in a row. It's nothing, right? So when you silence people you disagree with, that's the opposite of culture. That's stagnation, that's decay. And there's a murderousness to it. There's a murderousness to it.